There's this quote I read once that, if you have the choice between begging for a seat on a table or just building your own table, build your own table.
Yeah.
Technically, every content creator is a slave to Google or Facebook. That's the truth. Post 2030, it's time to build our own Google out of India. I'm more grateful to my parents for giving me birth in India and taking India forward. This Gen Alpha and Gen Z of India, they're way smarter than the previous generations to the degree where it's difficult to make content for them because they watch your content and then become smarter than you. You can't escape cultural change.
How you started and the years before all these attention that you're getting.
I've had like one or two life-changing experiences in my life, which I felt just changed the personality, the trajectory. The more brandable and marketable one is the fact that I read a book called The Autobiography of a Yogi, which just taught me to look at human life in a very different way. How many of you guys have heard of something called ayahuasca? An ayahuasca ceremony when I was 22, it happened to my life. I didn't go chasing it. I was on vacation with my family and someone came up and put me through an ayahuasca ceremony, but it was life-changing. It was basically like a deep meditative experience. You guys have heard of Vipassana, right? So this is sort of a South American version of it, but it's done through a South American tea, like a tribal tea. It sounds like drugs, but it's not. It's not used for recreation. Anyway, ayahuasca, when you do it, when you're lying down, it shows you like your deepest fears, and it's a form of you deep diving into your subconscious. It showed me some pretty crazy stuff.
Where did you do this?
This happened in Seychelles. I was with my family. It was like my dad's way of saying, this is the last thing I'm ever doing for you before your YouTubing career begins. Because I graduated from engineering college and I decided, so I was working as a fitness coach that time.
Yeah.
And I was making money just by training people, etc., etc. And I decided to try YouTube because I knew I wanted to get into the world of startups and it would be a great form of distribution, which it is now, 7 years on. But there was too much going on in my head back then. And in Indian families, like you do your engineering or your medicine or your science degree or law, and then you can try doing what you want. But that phase of switching over into another industry is very intense.
The kind of attention that the creators are getting and you are getting and the love that you get, somewhere I always want to understand that how do you process this in your mind? Because of course you've made a journey and every journey is difficult, but itna zyada jab spotlight milta hai, so how do you keep the balance?
I love the love. Feels great. I think there's a part of me that chose this career because I genuinely enjoy the attention. So I love what's happening even right now. I love the eyes on me and everything. And there is a bit of a trade-off in terms of there's a lot of public scrutiny. Like we're truly building in public from the get-go, etc. So your failures, your mistakes, and there are many mistakes, are very public. You grow up in front of the world. It's all right, there is a learning curve, but it's about the people with you who keep you sane, who pull you down if you're flying up a little bit too high. So it's about having the right
Who are those people in your life?
one of them sitting here, Mr. Pandey, Manish Pandey.
And he's feeling so good. Yes, seen that. He's been there with a lot of people, and of course I can vouch for Manish. Yeah. He's brilliant, yeah.
Fortunately, so I have 3 co-founders and all 3 of them are those people for me. Harshil Karia from Shabang, who's doing Level, our meditation app. Manish and me are doing Big Brain, and Viraj, who's my co-founder on Monk Entertainment, our talent management agency. He's my co-founder and my manager in many ways. And your manager is supposed to shoot you down if you're thinking wrong. I feel he's been very responsible for elongating my career. Because in this industry, careers fade away like that. And we've seen 4 generations of content creators come and go.
Yeah.
There's been a huge luck factor because of which I feel I've survived. And that luck is down to the people that entered my life. So it's not just like hard work or smart work. There is a massive luck factor in this whole thing. I strongly believe that.
how do you remain relevant? Because ये constant run है ना, relevant रहने का. कैसे?
I really feel it's about reinvention. It's a very cliched answer, but it's like any business. There is a very, very big fight for relevance. I'll tell you the advantage of doing YouTube and Instagram is we're basically creating something. It's like a chef's business, but your feedback is in your comment section and your data. So we have access to huge comment sections, huge data points that allow you to understand where to go next. I think the challenge is not just reinvention though, it's the mental health angle. I think that's the reason most people drop off, because of the scrutiny, because of the heavy amount of criticism. I also feel that if you're a content creator and you've survived for 5 years, you should do it forever. Because this is not an industry you should leave, especially now. A lot of people are thinking of leaving, have left, but I feel the industry is just beginning. So there's too many positives, and that motivation to go and kind of lap up those positives is too much, to give up on. So reinvention happens through your comment section and your data.
Tell me the effort that goes behind it, and how are you thinking with the kind of distribution, the kind of brand that you have?
I feel that when you're doing content creation, it's a great stepping stone. You shouldn't stop stepping on the stepping stone because it leads to bigger opportunities, but you should parallelly be building other things for sure. Because influencer marketing is amazing, but it's unpredictable.
Yeah.
There's very big money, but it's unpredictable. So you have to use this massive distribution to actually build D2C products. So if you're a fitness brand, build a chain of dumbbells. If you're a fashion brand, build your fashion line, etc., etc. Basically, the talent management agency was started first and foremost to service myself. Like, I needed help, and the Bollywood and cricket talent management agencies weren't willing to sign us up. Because I don't blame them. We were too small. There was nothing to win. There was one talent management agency back then which only managed comedians, and they weren't ready to experiment with other YouTubers, and I don't blame them either. But there's this quote I read once that, if you have the choice between begging for a seat on a table or just building your own table, build your own table.
Yeah.
So we applied that, built the talent management firm. It taught me the basics of business because I'm just an engineering grad. I didn't even learn engineering in engineering college. I'm sure we have engineers here, so you guys know what I'm talking about. Everything is self-taught. I learned bootstrapping through the talent management agency, and then, unfortunately, I saw this Netflix documentary which featured Michael Jordan. I loved it back then. I'm sure many people have seen it. It's called The Last Dance. Okay, and the outcome of watching The Last Dance is that it will motivate you to another degree. You'll think that whatever you've done is not enough. And I feel there are some achievers like that who are just never satisfied. Michael Jordan's one of those. So at age 26, I realized, only one business from this is not enough. So I decided to start a production house with Manish, which is called Big Brain right now. And we're growing. It's a services business as well. But the long-term goal is documentary filmmaking, etc., etc. And currently, most of my time and focus outside of content goes into my meditation app Level, where it's about focusing on improving the mind's capacity and the mind's abilities, because I have noticed that that's possible over the course of this career. So everyone speaks about fitness, not too many people speak about mental fitness, which is the ability to keep your mind ready to face the shit that life is going to throw at you at some point for sure. It's a mental fitness oriented app. And again, it's basically a content play. The same things I've learned on YouTube, on Instagram about content, the same rules of audience retention apply to your own app and the content you're building within your own product. So I feel the first step is building a large free layer of stuff, which is what we've done on YouTube and Instagram. The second layer is taking that community and making it your own. So we're in the process, but early days. And we bootstrapped. So it's fun.
Tell me, I heard, my grapevine says that you're making a lot of money.
I look at it as,
Relatively.
See, in video games, you earn those tokens, which you use to, I perceive it like that. I don't have too fancy a lifestyle or anything. I'm in a very strong building phase right now. I know that, I'll tell you what, content creation, it's just going to grow in India if people play it right. But again, it may not be sustainable from a mental health perspective.
Yeah.
It drains you, even that whole angle of reinventing, keeping at it. There's tiny sacrifices involved that add up in the long term. Like, I don't get enough family time. I don't get enough time for a social life. So I'm okay with it now because the gains are a lot. How long will I be truly okay with that lack of work-life balance? I don't know.
Somehow, even if you're the most secure person, there is a sense of self-worth or where you are and how you are and how you look and Maslow law of hierarchy में आप कहाँ हैं? वो social media makes you feel always bad. And the second thing is that you're always looking how much like, how much attention, how much feedback or whatever views I got. How do you be in the game and detach yourself from that?
It's possible after you create a lot of content. Then after a point, it just becomes very numbed out and becomes extremely mathematical. You know that if I create a video with these elements, it'll take off, my numbers will keep growing, etc., etc. But it takes time to get there. But I love my life. I have no complaints. You know, it sounds like I'm complaining a lot, but it's not like that.
Yes.
With YouTube, you're selling your soul for the sake of growth, honestly. Okay, you're cutting off pieces of your soul and putting it online. So I have so much of myself online that I genuinely don't think I have any more to hide. And I'm very okay with that because I know even the bad stuff has been put on and I've made a fool of myself. I've said the wrong things. I've probably had wrong opinions and I appreciated the criticism I got. It hurt me a little bit, but I appreciated it over time. So I don't know, maybe writing this much and just that YouTubing journey has made me a very self-satiated person. Like, I just enjoy life at this point.
If you have to build a business as a creator and influence as a creator, how much of dependency is there on these platforms?
It's a lot. You have to play to the algorithm. It's that whole one for the dinner table, one for the soul thing. People underestimate how much human culture and the human mind on an average is affected because of short content. Reels, shorts, it's changing how human beings live, think, consume. The advantage of doing YouTube and social media this long is we have a lot of data. So we get a macro view on what's going to happen a year from now. And most of the times at this stage, our guesses are right. The new generation, I'm not talking about Gen Z, the one after them, born after 2005, they're a more interactive generation. Like how many people here have seen Black Mirror on Netflix? Okay. I highly recommend that everyone go watch Black Mirror. Yuval Noah Harari, the guy who wrote Sapiens, said that Black Mirror is a very accurately made show. It's about the near future. It's a horror show where the ghost is technology. So technology is the villain. That kind of stuff is happening. Black Mirror did an episode called Bandersnatch where you as the viewer get to decide the outcomes of the show. Like by clicking on, okay, does the character have to do this or that? That's the kind of content that's the future. Now, I don't know how that's going to translate to cinema viewing because it's extremely individualistic. Times and culture are changing and lots of people think that movies and cinema will never become irrelevant. My response, and I hope it doesn't become irrelevant, but my response is that if you see the 3 lakh years of the human story, like Homo sapiens have been around for 3 lakh years, cinema has been around for about 120, 130 years. Which is not that long. And even cinema itself changed the previous culture. So there are changes that are about to happen and they're happening right in front of us. But, you know, times are moving fast. So my point of saying all this is that social media is an extremely fast world. Be present on 2 or more platforms and anticipate there'll be changes that will make you want to throw up if you're a social media creator. Things change that rapidly. Like you'll have built a system to create long form content. Tomorrow short form content will be the hot take. So many YouTubers have stopped YouTubing because of this. They're just demotivated that we spent years building what we've built and now the algorithm doesn't even push out our stuff, which has taken years to perfect. So do you complain in such a situation or do you adapt? And there's no right answer because even to adapt, there is a big trade-off. Like my older friends who've done YouTube for a while, they have families now. They, you know, have other responsibilities. Their priorities are changed. They're not ready to adapt. And we're going to see lots of these tsunamis of change in the world of social media. So if you're entering that world, you have to just be ready to completely change up. And this, anything that applies to social media also applies to the world of brands, digital marketing, social media marketing, etc. So we're on the brink of change all the time.
How much focus one should give in terms of building a brand? And if you become a big or influential brand, do you think that you become a little, insular to the changes of algorithm?
You do if you don't have a team that's constantly breaking you down. And if you're not ready as an artist, because we all are artists, if you're not ready as an artist to adapt, change, get humbled by the system. Because technically, every content creator is a slave to Google or Facebook. That's the truth. We're a Google and Facebook employee. Are you willing to play the game according to the rules of the product teams at Google and Facebook? 99% are ready. I'm also ready. I love it. It's given me all this. So I'm very okay doing it till 2030. And then post 2030, it's time to build our own Google out of India. So that's what my goal is. And I'm hoping that we've already discussed some Web3 plays. We want to build some sort of a parallel social media, but it's a long-term plan. And in saying that, I don't know if on a personal level, I'm going to have the motivation or the energy to do it alone, which is why I'm thinking Web3 and a completely decentralized system, etc. But all these are just futuristic thoughts.
Is that also a conscious effort also to not be dependent on these platforms?
100%. Yeah. Because I've seen how it can just strip away your career. And I love it, and I'm grateful to those platforms. But I'm more grateful to my parents for giving me birth in India and taking India forward. And that's not just like a good branding angle. I've figured that to really go after things, you need a certain sense of purpose. I've figured another thing about this Gen Alpha and Gen Z of India, they're way smarter than the previous generations to the degree where it's difficult to make content for them because they watch your content and then become smarter than you. Because they have their own way of applying things and they have access to so much more content, so many more content creators. So we're working with a very good talent pool in terms of when we're talking about building these huge companies. I don't think that people born before 1990 have an idea of the talent pool at hand. And the only reason I have access to that is because I cater to them through my content. Like most of my Hindi channel viewers are below the age of 25. So that's born after 1997. It's a different breed. They want a different kind of content. And it's forcing me to level up as a content creator, but it's also exciting me in terms of if I as a content creator can build a bade bhaiya relationship with them, tomorrow they'll be much more ready to work with me when I'm building like these global things. So I also believe now Indian content is at a point where it will travel to other countries. It will go out to the world because there's a demand for Indian concepts like yoga, like Ayurveda, like spiritualism, like technology, like the Indian startup ecosystem. Now the world wants to know about what's happening here and they want to market to us. So while we have all these big GDP predictions that by 2032 this will happen and that will happen, what that effectively means is that there's a lot of opportunity to build big businesses, which can be that process can be hastened and lubricated through great personal brands. It'll give you your early adopters, not just in India, but all over the world. So it's time to build D2C brands, but for international consumers as well.
What would you say to all the people who say, nahi, main social media pe?
I feel the more vulnerable you are, the faster you'll grow. It's a very horrible thing to say. But the more vulnerable you're ready to be online, the faster you'll grow. And, you know, it's not just in India. All over the world, there was this culture of shooting down vulnerability, which is changing now. But the benefits you get from being vulnerable and growing a brand online outweigh that one person or those two people who will say that.
Apni branding karna hai.
So I feel if you're not working on your personal brand right now, and you still intend on making businesses, it might even be a mistake that you look back upon and say that, oh, that's the big regret of my career. So it is the time for building your personal brand. And it's really easy, honestly. Like people don't understand how easy it can be. You just need like 3 or 4 skills.
What are those 3-4 skills?
You need to learn the art of storytelling, and there is an art. Hyping people up at the start of the story, feeling like the story completely at the start, and A/B testing with your friends. So give out some stories in like social situations, see which ones work, and then repeat it. Anyway, I can keep breaking down each of these points because this is what I do for a living. But storytelling, writing, which I think is a skill that gets better with age and time because you have that much more perspective. So write a lot. Even if you just journal, you're actually creating raw material to be used for your personal brand. And people don't understand the kind of raw material they can just create through journaling. People don't understand how nice journaling can be for your mental health. So it's a win-win. Third one, I would say just understanding how video works. You know, we all have great cameras on our phones now. Don't shoot yourself. Shoot something. That's, okay, maybe the toughest skill of these 3. But even if you have these two, you'll explode on LinkedIn and Twitter, which is what most B2B founders need. If you can figure that video skill, even better. I would also say this ability to talk, like communication. This is what Ronnie Screwvala told me. He said that the one skill that for sure can't be touched, irrespective of AI, 50 years, 60 years down the line, is communication skills. And it took me some time to completely absorb that, and I realized he's right. And I also feel communication skills can be improved over time. I know it sounds very rudimentary that we're talking about communication skills at a forum like this where we have founders and experienced startup professionals, but when you talk to a camera and there's that constant pressure of delivering thoughts, it does something to your mind in terms of, it does definitely make you charismatic because you automatically become a better storyteller. You know that every word you're putting out is real estate, attention real estate that you're losing out on. So you learn to pack a lot of information into minimum words. You learn to speak in a way that will grip human beings. You even learn to be funnier and you learn to be more charming and all these things start happening. But you need to put yourself in that little uncomfortable situation of talking to your selfie camera. It's as simple as that. 60% of Gen Z human beings all over the world have tried making content at some point. That's where we're heading. And Gen Alpha, which is the gen after Gen Z, it's going to be even more rampant. It's going to become a situation where if millennials and older people don't adopt, we're going to get cut off from the big games that are happening in the world. Which is what brings me back to that point of the world rapidly changing and how much short content is affecting the human mind. Try going to a party now and try holding the attention of a group. And just on one side, try holding the attention. On the other side, notice how much people's attention slips away.
How do you really center yourself with this noise?
You use level supermind. No, see, I love creating the problem and the solution. Like I'm creating the problem through video and then giving all the solution through level. But honestly, there's no, we can't escape it. You can't escape cultural change.
It all alludes to is that somewhere all of us as people, as humans, as individuals will have to figure out our own centeredness and our own purpose.
We're living in the age of mental health issues. Okay, and I'll tell you why social media and influencer marketing is working in the first place. First principles perspective, human beings are getting lonelier. There are, again, Social Dilemma showed these studies where they say that Gen Z, I mean, I hate talking about this, mental health issues are up, suicide rates are up. And basically this feeling of being lonely is up. Which is why, in some ways, influencer marketing has taken away a bit of the pie of word of mouth marketing. It's basically what it is. How are we different from Bollywood or actors? We recommend it to consumers, and the consumers know us like friends. They know us like family. Because their way to consume that content is so personalized. Where on their phones, they turn on the content when they want to feel something.
Yeah.
And as creators, we know that the ones who've sustained have made emotional content, are ready to be vulnerable, are able to tell emotional stories. But what are we really doing there from a one layer deep perspective? We're tapping into the human emotion because people are getting lonelier. And content creators are just going to grow if they play the game right and if they understand this basic logic.
You are vulnerable and of course it works and you get the numbers and everything. But I also think that there is a purpose to why you do that. Right? It's not algorithm. I think somewhere your heart and purpose would also be there, and that's why you can sustain so many years, right?
Yeah. Okay, I've put out so much content now that I constantly feel I have nothing more to put out, and now there's stuff to put out. I figured that every year I try talking to the version of myself from 2 years ago, and I just make content for that person. Because, and maybe it's slightly metaphysical, but when you ask someone, okay, you want to do social work? Why do you want to do social work? And some might say it's good karma, some might say it feels good. When you go a layer deep, everyone's trying to help a version of themselves from the past.
Yeah.
That's what I feel. So content works like that as long as you're, again, catering to just people who have the same problems that you had. I always looked down upon my own job till 2019 when I began the podcast and I started meeting what I thought was success. And the definition of success has changed for me. I met Ronnie Screwvala, I met Sid Roy Kapoor, I met all these other amazing entrepreneurs. And I figured that so many of them have reached a stage where they're done with making money, numbers, fame also, material success. And now their life is all about creating an impact. And then I realized, hold on, I have the ability to create an impact from now and do all the material stuff.
Yeah.
So it's a great position to be in for a young person. And then I just started embracing the truth about my profession, that content creation is great and it's here to stay. And it's extremely fulfilling. It's an extremely fulfilling career. You go to sleep very peaceful as long as you know that you're saying the truth online.
When you have this kind of, वो कहते हैं ना, Superman किसका वो
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. What was
with
the
great power comes great responsibility.
with great distribution, great brand, and great influence as a creator comes a lot of responsibility, right? Because we've been bombarded with all kinds of content, and when one establishes that kind of connection to a creator, then it becomes even more of a responsibility to give honest. And how do you look at that?
You learn this over time that large masses of people, on an average, are very intelligent. They can tell what's happening, especially in today's day and age. Indian audience, even more intelligent because they're really hungry for information. And kudos to Jio for putting the internet out, in small town India. Because those folks are getting educated. There's a lot that happens in a video. People see hand movements, people see your expressions. They can see through you. So one angle of looking at it is you can't lie. You can't, say something that you don't feel. If you say something wrong, people will correct you. And you should take it on, apply it in your game and move forward. That's where a lot of people don't want to do content. They don't want to take the criticism. They're not ready to face it. If you're ready to face it, if you're ready to absorb it and move forward, you're unstoppable in the content game. And all these people who sustain Bhuvan, Prajakta, Flying Beast, this is their ability. That they're able to take on feedback, apply it and make a better product. If I say something wrong to one person, it's bad karma. Imagine what saying wrong to a mass of people is and putting out the wrong message. And it comes back. I had a habit from my childhood of using, there was a lot of people who doubted me when I began in terms of you won't be able to do it. And I used to enjoy the pain. I used to enjoy someone telling me that I couldn't do it because it used to give me more motivation to go and do it. And I used that for so long until I went for therapy and I realized this is a really wrong habit to have. Because basically when you keep thinking about one person and you have that grudge against that one person, you're using it, you're looking down upon them. And then eventually in your career, that becomes a pattern. You start finding people to look down upon. In one phase, you're looking down upon some other kind of content. In one other phase, you're looking down upon one profession. It's really not healthy, and that makes its way to your content. People are able to pick up on it. That's what people pick up on as motivational speaker arrogance, because it comes from that place. This was something I had to unlearn through therapy. And the therapy and the unlearning helped me in my content because I feel I'm much more relaxed as a person, and it's helped the brand a lot because that relaxation has made its way to the creativity. So I think responsibility takes care of itself, but don't hurt people through what you do.
How do you take feedback well? And how do you deal with criticism well? It's easy to say, हाँ चलो कोई criticize कर दिया, it's okay. But how do you practice that?
You learn to understand that it's going to hurt, and you should learn to be okay with the pain first because it hurts. Like when there's that heavy an amount of feedback and criticism on your work. But I personally feel that as long as you're catering to the community you've built out, you're fine. Because you have to also learn who not to take the criticism from. You're not going to appeal to everyone. And that whole Batman dialogue about you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become a villain, it's very true in this world. In content creation, even more so. Because you are going to piss off people irrespective of what you do and what you say. Like people get pissed off with me for telling other people to work hard. So where does that line even get drawn? It's just a part of the reality. For me, again, it's a subjective formula for you based on your goals and your reality. For me, I go down the path which is best for the capitalistic journey. Whatever's best for business, I will do that. And that is not just dictated by me. I have a gut feel there, but it's dictated by my teams as well. So if they tell me that, listen, this criticism is making sense, they can tell me in a harsh way, an easy way, but it will stay with me. And I'll learn to apply it in the content, and it's only paid off in the long term.
As a content creator, to small content creator, how will support?
How can we support?
Yeah.
यही जो playbooks है, मतलब जो guidelines है, वो senior content creators को release करनी चाहिए क्योंकि guidelines होती है और हमारे लिए किसी ने ये चीज़ नहीं की थी. But इसे हम कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि open conversations करें. हिंदी पॉडकास्ट मेरे लिए करना बहुत मुश्किल है क्योंकि बहुत टाइम कंज्यूमिंग होता है 3 एपिसोड्स रिलीज करना.
I'm consuming both of English and Hindi both.
Thank you भाई. But I hope and pray कि the हिंदी पॉडकास्ट reaches to all of India. क्योंकि ये सब प्लेबुक्स है, आर्मी की प्लेबुक है, बॉलीवुड की प्लेबुक है, मोस्ट ऑफ ऑल कंटेंट की प्लेबुक है. Because I feel content creation is the future and it is definitely going to create many jobs.
इंस्टाग्राम पे पर्सनालिटी बिल्ड करने, ब्रांड बिल्ड करने का मन करता है, प्लस एट द सेम टाइम एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप का भी एक बहुत अच्छा आइडिया होता है. Which one do you go for? Because there is the right saying that you have to be fully invested in one thing to grow. What do you do first?
I believe in bootstrapping, so whichever's paying you more initially. Like first you pay the bills, then you figure out what's the right answer. So for me, back in the day, I trained people for 1.5 years along with doing YouTube, and I was making a lot of money through training people, and it was paying for my camera equipment, it was paying for my initial salaries, everything. So just go wherever the money is if you're really trying to scale.
While speaking over here, you said that you show the problem and sell the solution with it. But somewhere I feel sometimes you also create the problem. So what do you have to say about it?
That YouTube thumbnails and titles and packaging are their own skill set. We know how to generate clicks. It's how we've sustained a YouTube channel. But if you actually go within that entire playlist, we're teaching etiquette to India, which has just got the internet. We're teaching table manners, we're teaching people communication skills. But imagine you yourself wanting to click on table manners 101 rather than ladki kaise pataएं. So that's my answer.
I have been following you like from 2018 when you have started doing fashion content, and then you spoke about education system and all. Then TRS came on, and now what I call TRS 2.0, which is before it was about material success. Now it is about spiritual success, right? So then you're also venturing into Big Brain Go. So what's next? What's next for BeerBiceps, and what's next for content as a whole?
What's next for BeerBiceps? A lot of the attention is on level. We're starting our content school, but it's to cater to our own needs, because be it level, Big Brain, BeerBiceps, Ranveer Allahbadia. Ranveer Allahbadia is the Hindi brand's name. We need more editors and content strategists all the time. And I've just figured that if we can figure out how to do this at scale, everything will scale much faster. So that's the plan for the next year. Content in general has become extremely dark all over the world. And it's going to stay dark for another 3 or 4 years. And they say content is a reflection of society. I think we're in extremely dark times. That whole World War thing and just whatever's happened over the last 3 years, for some reason, people are very interested in horror, crime, death, the occult, all these things. I go wherever the numbers are in order to survive, because that's how you have to play the YouTube game. So content is and will be dark for the next 5 years.
How do you deal with it? Because you know this content will get views and likes, but at the end you also know that you're in a way selling your soul and sharing that emotional aspect. So as a creator, how you keep doing that in a way? Like, is it even, how does it feel like as a creator?
Feels great, honestly. That's what you just need very raw answer, very genuine answer. I really genuinely enjoy the attention. So I don't mind it. And at the same time, I'm old enough now to know what not to put up online as well. And there are very few things I don't put up online, maybe some family related stuff, some personal life related stuff. But most of it, if you sit with your thoughts and if you write it enough, you'll figure out a way to put it online. You'll be able to use the right words and you'll be able to grow your personal brand.
Got it, thank you.
Yeah, okay.
What percentage of the topics you're choosing is coming out of your own, what you're reading and going, whatever you've done so far in your life, or your team who's doing the research? What sort of, because that will, I think, help future content creators.
Initially, when we had a tiny team, it was me doing all the research, because this is the one big mistake I've made in my own career. I took 7 years to build a massive editing and filmmaking unit, and now it's automated. Like, they hire, they coach the next gen of editors. The mistake I made is that I didn't do the same with the writing and research unit early on. And I'm finding it very difficult to do it at this stage. That's my challenge also. Like, in terms of what's next at BeerBiceps, can I create a massive research unit? So we have about 3 or 4 people now just constantly doing research, and we attach bibliographies under important and big videos as well. But it's a very important part of future YouTube. It's going to be entirely research oriented, because our generation got Google when we were, say, 7, 8 years old, and Google was new. People our age underestimate how difficult it is to effectively Google search in 2022 because of the excess of information. So just being able to do the right, truthful research has become a skill in itself, and people are going to turn to video content for their research needs as well. So this is the next step in the world of worldwide content.
If anyone wants to start content creation in this era, which niche you should like, okay, 5 साल में 10 साल में ये niche फटने वाली है?
वो honestly predict नहीं कर सकते.
Okay.
You can start with dark content right now because I can. That's where it is, and the fastest growth is happening on dark content channels. There are American channels that have grown to 8 million subscribers in a year just by doing ghost stories. So it's dark content, but the issue is you won't be able to reinvent easily.
Okay.
So if you're really serious about content, start with vlogging and putting up aspects of your actual life.
Okay.
और एक और commonality होगी बहुत detailed editing, बहुत elaborate editing.
Okay.
तो ये होने वाला है.
And what is the future of vlogging in your perspective?
Very fast paced.
Okay.
People's attention spans are horrible. Matlab, you have to change your frame every 3 seconds. So it's difficult, but this will teach you filmmaking very intensely. You'll be able to even direct films if you can master this art. Yeah, watch the podcast and thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.